My parents used my scholarship money for my brother's rehab, so I dropped out and cut them off completely. The woman behind the desk at the bursar's office has kind eyes, which makes everything worse. I'm standing there with my backpack still on, having just come from organic chemistry lab, and she's telling me my spring semester tuition hasn't been paid. I actually laugh. It's a short, ugly sound that makes her flinch. I have a full scholarship, I tell her. The Daniels Engineering Scholarship. 4 years, full ride, room and board. She nods slowly and turns her monitor so I can see it. My name is right there at the top of the screen. Below it, a form I've never seen before. Scholarship fund, withdrawal request, parent or guardian authorization. The signature is my mother's, that careful cursive she uses for important documents. The date is October 15th, 3 weeks ago. I was in thermodynamics class that day, taking notes about entropy and heat transfer, completely unaware that my future was being dismantled in some office I'd never been to. My hands are shaking when I ask if there's been a mistake. The woman's expression tells me there hasn't. She explains that my mother came in with proper identification and co-signed paperwork. The scholarship fund allows for emergency withdrawals under specific circumstances. Family medical emergency qualified. The money was transferred to an account in my mother's name, $47,000. That's what was left of my 4-year scholarship after freshman year and fall semester sophomore year expenses. Gone. I ask how this is legal, how they can just hand over my scholarship money to someone else. She explains, very gently, that my parents are listed as my legal guardians in the university system. I'm 19, which means they still have certain rights until I'm 21, or file for legal emancipation. The words don't make sense. I worked for that scholarship. 4 years of high school maintaining a perfect GPA while working part-time at the hardware store. Hundreds of hours studying for the SAT. The essay I wrote about wanting to be a civil engineer, to build infrastructure in underserved communities. The interview where I wore my father's old suit jacket and answered questions about my goals and dreams. I leave the bursar's office and walk across campus in the November cold without feeling it. Students pass me laughing, carrying coffee, complaining about exams, normal college problems. My phone is in my hand before I consciously decide to call. My mother answers on the second ring. Her voice is already defensive, which means she knew this call was coming. She knew I'd find out eventually. I ask her what she's done, and there's a long pause filled with her breathing. Then she says, my brother's name like it's an explanation, like those 2 syllables justify everything. Your brother needed help, she says. Real help this time. We found a facility in Arizona that specializes in dual diagnosis treatment. It's 90 days inpatient. The cost is $60,000. Insurance covers some of it, but not enough. We didn't have a choice. I'm standing in front of the engineering building now, looking at the bronze plaque that lists all the scholarship recipients. My name is on there from last year. 3rd row, 2nd from the left. I trace my finger over the engraved letters while my mother talks about tough decisions and family obligations. I ask why she didn't talk to me first, why she didn't ask. There's another pause, and when she speaks again, her voice has an edge. Because you would have said no, she says. You would have made it about you instead of about your brother who's dying. I feel something cold settle in my chest. My brother isn't dying. He's 24 years old, and this is his 4th rehab in 6 years. The first one was when he was 18, right after graduation, when he got arrested for possession. My parents paid for 30 days at a local facility. He was clean for 3 months. The second rehab was 2 years later after he overdosed in his apartment, and his roommate found him blue on the bathroom floor. 60 days that time, at a place 2 states over. Clean for 6 months. The third was last year, court-ordered after his second DUI. 90 days. Clean for 4 months. Now this. The 90-day luxury facility in Arizona with specialized treatment and family therapy and whatever other expensive promises they made to my desperate parents. My mother is crying now. That particular cry she does that sounds like she's being strangled. We'll pay you back, she says. Your father and I will get a second mortgage on the house. You'll have the money back before fall semester. You can take a semester off, get a job. We'll figure it out together. I hang up without saying anything else. My hands are still shaking, but now it's not from shock. It's from rage. I walk back to my dorm on autopilot, climbing the 3 flights of stairs to my room. My roommate isn't here. He's probably at his girlfriend's place. I pull my 2 duffel bags out from under my bed and start packing. Clothes first, then textbooks, laptop, the few personal items I brought from home, photos of my high school friends, the model bridge I built for my senior project, my calculator and drafting tools. Everything fits, because I didn't bring much. I learned early not to get attached to things. My brother had a way of destroying or stealing anything valuable in our house. I zip both bags closed and look around the room one last time. The furniture is standard issue, nothing mine except what's now packed. I write my roommate a note saying I'm leaving, family emergency, good luck with finals. I don't mention that I'm not coming back. The RA is at the front desk when I walk through the lobby with my bags. She looks up and asks if everything's okay. I tell her I need to withdraw from housing for personal reasons. She starts to say something about paperwork and proper procedure, but I'm already out the door. I walk to the parking lot where my car sits in the same spot it's been in since August. It's a 2008 sedan I bought myself 3 years ago with money saved from the hardware store job. My parents never helped me buy it. They were too busy paying for my brother's legal fees and rehab stints and the destruction he left in his wake. I throw my bags in the trunk and sit in the driver's seat for a long moment. The campus spreads out in front of me through the windshield. The library where I spent so many late nights. The student center where I ate lunch between classes. The engineering building with my name on the scholarship plaque. All of it is ending right now, in this moment, because of choices other people made. I pull out my phone and start making calls. First, to financial aid. I explain that I'm withdrawing effective immediately. The person on the other end tries to talk me through options, tells me about emergency loans and payment plans. I interrupt and say, I'm done, I'm leaving, process whatever paperwork you need to process. Next call is to my advisor. He's not available, so I leave a voicemail. Family emergency, withdrawing from all classes, thank you for everything. My voice sounds robotic even to my own ears. Third call is to the hardware store back home. The manager answers and I ask if they're hiring. He recognizes my voice immediately, asks what happened to college. I tell him it didn't work out and I need a job. He's quiet for a moment, then says they have an opening in the stockroom, 25 hours a week, starts next Monday. I take it. Last call is to my old friend Julian, who moved into an apartment downtown 6 months ago. He picks up with loud music in the background. I ask if his roommate situation fell through like he mentioned last month. He says, yeah, the guy moved in with his boyfriend. He's been looking for someone to split rent. I tell him I need a place starting tomorrow. He must hear something in my voice because he doesn't ask questions. Just says, bring your stuff over whenever. I drive off campus and don't look back. The highway stretches ahead, familiar from all the times I drove home for holidays and summer break, but this time feels different. Final. I stop at a gas station 20 miles out and sit in the parking lot with my phone in my hands. My mother has called 4 times, my father twice. There are text messages, each one more frantic than the last. Please call us. We need to talk about this. Don't make rash decisions. Your brother is asking about you. That last one makes my jaw clench. My brother doesn't know what happened. He's in some luxury rehab in Arizona, probably doing yoga and art therapy, completely unaware that his latest crisis cost me my education. I open my phone's settings and block both my parents' numbers. The action feels momentous and terrifyingly simple. One tap, and they're gone, unable to reach me. I sit there for another few minutes, half expecting to feel something. Regret, maybe, doubt, but there's nothing except a strange sense of relief. Like a weight I've been carrying my whole life just fell away. Julian's apartment is in a converted warehouse building downtown. The area is transitioning, half gentrified coffee shops and half industrial spaces. I park on the street and carry my bags up 4 flights because the elevator is broken. Julian opens the door before I can knock. He's taller than I remember, with new tattoos covering his forearms. He looks at my bags, and his expression is carefully neutral. He steps aside to let me in without asking what happened. The apartment is bigger than I expected. 2 bedrooms, shared bathroom, kitchen that opens into a living room with huge windows. His furniture is mostly secondhand but clean. He shows me the empty room, which is smaller than my dorm, but has more character. Exposed brick walls, hardwood floors that creak. I drop my bags, and he tells me rent is $500 a month plus utilities. I do quick math in my head. The hardware store job will cover that with some left over. I'll need a second job, though. Julian seems to read my mind and mentions that the coffee shop downstairs is always hiring. I tell him I'll check tomorrow. That night I lie on the air mattress Julian lent me and stare at the ceiling. My phone is off, sitting on the floor beside me. I keep thinking about my scholarship. 4 years of work, gone in a single transaction. My mother's signature on a form I never saw. My father complicit through silence, because I can't imagine he didn't know. My brother in Arizona, oblivious or uncaring or both. The rage comes in waves, hot and consuming. I think about all the times I sacrificed for him. The Christmas when I was 12 and asked for a new bike, but my parents spent that money on my brother's legal fees after he vandalized the neighbor's fence. The summer I worked double shifts at the hardware store because my brother had crashed his car while drunk and my parents needed to replace it so he could get to his court-ordered community service. The graduation party I didn't have because my brother had just gotten out of rehab and my parents said we needed to keep things low-key. No stress, no triggers. Years of being told to understand, to be patient, to remember that addiction is a disease. And I did understand. I was patient. But understanding doesn't mean I have to sacrifice my future. Morning comes too early. I'm awake before the sun, lying in the gray light filtering through the unfamiliar window. My body feels heavy with exhaustion, but my mind won't stop racing. I get up and find Julian already in the kitchen, making coffee in a French press. He pours me a cup without asking, and we sit at the small table in silence. After a while, he asks if I want to talk about it. I tell him the basic facts. Scholarship withdrawn. Parents used the money for my brother's rehab. I left. He doesn't offer sympathy or advice, just nods and drinks his coffee. That's what I need right now. Not comfort, not solutions, just someone who acknowledges that this happened and doesn't try to fix it. After breakfast, I walk downstairs to the coffee shop. It's called Grounds, a pretentious name that matches the industrial chic aesthetic. Edison bulbs, reclaimed wood, a chalkboard menu with more milk alternatives than should legally exist. The manager is a woman in her 30s with purple hair and multiple ear piercings. I ask about the hiring sign in the window. She looks me up and down, asks if I have food service experience. I lie and say yes. She hands me an application and tells me to fill it out at one of the tables. The questions are standard: name, address, previous employment, availability. I list the hardware store as my only job, stretching the truth about my responsibilities to include customer service. When I get to the section asking why I want to work here, I write that I'm reliable, hardworking, and need steady hours. Nothing about dreams or passion for coffee culture. She appreciates the honesty when I hand it back. She asks when I can start. I tell her today. She laughs and says, tomorrow is fine. Training starts at 6 a.m. The pay is minimum wage plus tips, which she says usually adds up to about $15 an hour. I take it. That night I do the math on my phone calculator. Hardware store job, 25 hours at $12 an hour. Coffee shop maybe 30 hours at 15 with tips. That's about $1,300 a month after taxes. Rent is $500, utilities maybe another $100. Food, gas, phone bill. I can survive on this. Barely. But I can survive. What I can't do is go back to school. Not without that scholarship money. And definitely not while depending on parents who proved they'll sacrifice my future for my brother's present. The hardware store feels both familiar and strange when I walk in Monday morning. I worked here through high school, stocking shelves and helping customers find the right drill bits and paint colors. The manager, Rick, is a heavy-set man in his 50s who's worked here for 30 years. He meets me in the back room and hands me a vest and name tag. Doesn't ask about college, doesn't offer condolences, just shows me to the stockroom and explains that inventory comes in Tuesday and Friday, needs to be processed and shelved within 24 hours. The work is physical and mindless, exactly what I need. I spend 8 hours lifting boxes and organizing hardware, my body exhausted enough by the end that my brain can't overthink. The coffee shop is different. Training at 6 a.m. means I'm learning to make espresso while my eyes are barely open. The purple-haired manager, whose name is Devon, moves with efficiency that seems impossible before sunrise. She shows me how to work the espresso machine, steam milk. Remember the difference between a flat white and a cappuccino. The customers are a mix of early morning commuters and students from the nearby art college. They're demanding in that specific way people are before they've had caffeine, snapping orders and checking their phones while I fumble with the register. By the end of my first week working both jobs, I'm exhausted in a way I've never experienced. My body aches. I fall asleep the moment I hit the air mattress and wake up with Julian's alarm at 5:30. Shower, coffee shop until 2, home for a few hours, hardware store until close at 9. Repeat. Julian asks one night if this is sustainable. I tell him it has to be. He's quiet for a moment, then mentions his friend who manages a gym, said they're looking for someone to work the front desk on weekends. Better pay than my current jobs. Only 2 days, but they're long shifts. I tell him to give me the friend's number. The next Saturday I'm working at Momentum Fitness, checking in members and signing up new ones. The manager is a guy named Isaac, built like he bench presses small cars for fun. He's surprisingly soft-spoken and appreciates that I show up on time and don't complain. The pay is $18 an hour, and I work both weekend days, 11-hour shifts each. I start dropping the coffee shop shifts during weekdays, keeping only early mornings. The schedule is brutal, but the money is better. By the end of November, I have enough for rent, food, and a small amount left over. My phone stays off most of the time. I turn it on once a week to check voicemails from people who aren't my parents. There's one from my old academic advisor asking me to reconsider, saying I can take a leave of absence instead of fully withdrawing. There's one from a high school friend asking if I'm okay. She heard I left school. There are none from my brother, which doesn't surprise me. He's probably still in Arizona, still in treatment, still the center of everyone's universe except mine. December comes with the first real cold. The apartment's heating is inconsistent, and Julian and I start sleeping with extra blankets. The coffee shop gets busier with holiday drink orders, complicated concoctions with caramel and peppermint that take twice as long to make. The hardware store puts up Christmas decorations and plays the same 12 songs on repeat until I want to dismantle the sound system. The gym stays consistent. People trying to work off holiday food or get ahead of New Year's resolutions. I exist in this routine, working and sleeping and working, not thinking about what I've lost, because thinking about it makes my chest tight. 2 days before Christmas, Julian tells me his family invited me to their dinner. I decline. He pushes back, says I shouldn't be alone on Christmas. I tell him I won't be alone. I'll be at work. The gym needs someone for the holiday shift, and the pay is double. He looks at me for a long moment, then shrugs and says, the offer stands if I change my mind. I don't change my mind. Christmas Day. I'm at the gym by 5 a.m., opening up for the handful of people who can't take a day off from their workout routines. The gym is quiet, just the sound of weights and treadmills and heavy breathing. Nobody talks to me except to check in. It's perfect. My shift ends at 4, and I walk home through streets decorated with lights and inflatable Santas. Families are visible through windows, gathered around tables and trees. I feel nothing looking at them. Not sadness, not envy, just a distant acknowledgement that some people have that, and I don't. Julian left food in the fridge with a note saying Merry Christmas. I heat it up and eat alone, then sleep for 12 hours straight. January brings a cold snap that makes walking to work painful. The coffee shop is warm, but the constant in and out of customers means the door is always opening, letting in blasts of freezing air. A regular customer starts coming in around 7 every morning. She's probably in her 50s, always dressed professionally, always orders the same thing: medium dark roast, room for cream. She's polite but distant until one morning in mid-January when the line is unusually long and she's waiting longer than normal. When I finally hand her the coffee, she looks at me and asks if I'm in school nearby. I tell her I'm not in school. She nods slowly and says, "I look like I should be." Something about the way she says it, not judgmental but observant, makes me ask what she does. She hands me her business card. Linda Ashford, Director of Human Resources, Kellerman Construction. She tells me they're always looking for people with good work ethic, and if I'm interested in something beyond service industry, to give her a call. I pocket the card without committing to anything. That night, I look up Kellerman Construction on my phone. They're a mid-sized company specializing in commercial and infrastructure projects, the kind of work I wanted to do when I was studying civil engineering, the kind of work that required a degree I no longer have access to. But their website shows openings for project assistants and junior estimators, positions that prefer degrees but don't require them. I stare at Linda Ashford's card for a long time. The smart thing would be to call her. The safe thing would be to keep my current jobs and not risk rejection. I end up doing nothing, shoving the card in my desk drawer and going to sleep. 2 weeks later, Linda comes in again during the morning rush. When I hand her the coffee, she asks if I thought about her offer. I tell her honestly that I don't have a degree. She asks if I have experience. I hesitate, then tell her I completed 3 semesters of civil engineering before I had to leave. Her eyebrows raise slightly. She asks why I left. I give her the abbreviated version. Family emergency, financial issues, had to withdraw. She studies me for a moment, then says, "Kellerman has an apprenticeship program for people interested in construction management. It's paid, with the possibility of the company sponsoring further education if you prove yourself." She writes a name and number on the back of a receipt. Her assistant, call and mention her name, set up an interview. I call the next day during my break at the gym. The assistant, a man with an efficient voice, schedules me for an interview the following Thursday at 10 a.m. I ask Rick at the hardware store if I can adjust my schedule that day. He asks why. I tell him about the interview. He's quiet for a moment, then says he figured I wouldn't be here long-term anyway. It's not mean, just factual. I'm overqualified for stocking shelves and we both know it. Thursday morning I put on the only button-down shirt I own and the same dress pants I wore to my scholarship interview 3 years ago. Julian whistles when he sees me and says I clean up good. The Kellerman construction office is in a newer building downtown, all glass and steel. I take the elevator to the 4th floor and check in with the receptionist. The assistant who scheduled me appears within minutes. He leads me to a conference room where Linda Ashford is waiting with another man, late 40s, in jeans and a company polo. Linda introduces him as Ray Kellerman, the company founder's son and current operations manager. The interview is different from what I expected. They ask about my engineering coursework, what I learned, what interested me most. I talk about structural analysis and materials science, about the bridge project I did in high school. Ray asks what happened to my education. I give them the same abbreviated version I gave Linda: family emergency, financial issues. Ray exchanges a glance with Linda, and I can see him making calculations. He asks if I'm planning to go back to school. I tell him the truth. I don't know. Right now, I need work and income. Everything else is secondary. He nods and explains the apprenticeship program. It's a 2-year commitment. I'd start as a project assistant, working under experienced estimators and project managers. The company pays for relevant certifications, and if I prove myself, they'll consider sponsoring part-time enrollment at the State University for a degree program. The starting pay is $42,000 a year with benefits. I do quick math. That's more than double what I'm making at my 3 jobs combined. I try to keep my expression neutral, but something must show because Ray smiles slightly and asks when I can start. I give 2 weeks' notice at all 3 jobs. Rick takes it well, says he'll give me a good reference if I need it. Devin at the coffee shop is less pleased but understands. Isaac at the gym actually seems happy for me, says I was too smart to be checking in gym memberships anyway. My last day at the coffee shop, Linda comes in for her usual morning coffee. I tell her I start at Kellerman next Monday. She smiles, genuinely pleased, and tells me I won't regret it. My first day at Kellerman, I'm given a desk in a shared office space with 3 other project assistants. They're all older than me, 2 of them working on degrees part-time. We're assigned to different project managers. Mine is a woman named Carol, who's been with the company for 15 years. She has the weathered look of someone who spends time on construction sites, tan skin and sun-damaged hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She doesn't baby me. First day, she hands me a set of blueprints for a commercial renovation and tells me to review them, note any potential issues with the timeline or materials list. It takes me 6 hours and 2 pots of coffee, but I compile a report that night. Carol reviews it the next morning and points out 3 things I missed and 2 things I got right that she didn't expect me to catch. Over the next few weeks, I fall into the rhythm of construction management. It's different from engineering school, but uses the same foundational knowledge. I learn how to read site surveys and cost estimates. I shadow Carol on site visits, watching her negotiate with subcontractors and inspect work quality. I attend budget meetings and listen to project managers justify overages or explain delays. It's practical education in a way school never was. The textbook theories I learned in class are applied here to real projects with real stakes. By March, I'm drafting my own preliminary estimates for small projects. By April, Carol trusts me enough to send me to site meetings on her behalf. I buy proper work boots and a hard hat with the Kellerman logo. I start to feel competent again, like I have a future that isn't just surviving week to week. Julian notices the change. I'm home more regularly now, normal work hours instead of the marathon shifts. I have money for groceries beyond rice and canned soup. We start actually cooking dinner together, watching shows in the evening like normal roommates. He asks one night if I'm happy. I think about the question. Happy feels like too strong a word, but I'm stable. I'm building something. That's more than I had 6 months ago. Spring turns to summer, and Kellerman offers me a promotion to junior estimator. It comes with a raise to $50,000 and my own projects to manage, small ones but entirely mine. Ray Kellerman pulls me aside and tells me I'm exceeding expectations. He mentions the company education sponsorship again, says if I want to finish my degree part-time, they'll cover 75% of tuition. I tell him I'll think about it. That night, I look up the State University's civil engineering program. It's not as prestigious as my previous school, but it's accredited and offers evening classes. I could take 2 classes per semester, finish in maybe 4 years. The timeline feels overwhelming. I'd be 27 by the time I got my bachelor's degree, but the alternative is never finishing at all. In July, I get a Facebook message from someone I don't immediately recognize. The profile picture is grainy and the name is Kevin Foster. It takes me a minute to place him, then I remember. My brother's friend from high school, the one who used to come over and play video games before my brother got deep into drugs. I haven't thought about Kevin in years. His message is short. Hey, wanted to reach out. Saw your brother last week. Thought you should know he's back in town. I stare at the message for a long time. My brother is back, which means rehab is over. 4 months instead of the 90 days my parents paid for. I don't respond to Kevin. I don't want to know if my brother is clean or if this is just another temporary break before the next crisis. I don't want to know if my parents' $60,000 investment worked or if they threw away my scholarship for another few months of false hope. I delete the message and block Kevin. Some doors, once closed, should stay closed. 2 weeks later, I'm at the grocery store when I see her. My mother. She's in the produce section, examining apples with that particular focus she brings to mundane tasks. She looks older than I remember, more gray in her hair, new lines around her eyes. I freeze in the cereal aisle, watching her through the gap between shelves. Part of me wants to turn around and leave before she sees me. Another part, smaller but insistent, wants to walk over and confront her. Before I can decide, she looks up and our eyes meet. Her face goes through several expressions in rapid succession. Shock, guilt, hope, fear. She abandons her cart and walks toward me. I don't move. She stops a few feet away like she's afraid I'll bolt if she gets too close. She says my name, and hearing her voice after 9 months makes something crack in my chest. She asks how I am, where I've been living, if I'm okay. The questions come fast, desperate. I tell her I'm fine, working. She asks about school, and I tell her I'm not in school anymore. She knew that, though. She's the reason why. Her eyes fill with tears and she starts to say something about being sorry, about not knowing what else to do. I interrupt and ask how my brother is. She hesitates, then admits he relapsed 3 weeks after getting home from Arizona. He's living with them again, trying to get clean again. It's different this time. The words sound hollow because I've heard variations of them my entire life. I ask if it was worth it, if 4 months of sobriety that didn't stick was worth $47,000 of my scholarship money. She starts crying, actual tears running down her face in the middle of the grocery store. She says she knows what she did was wrong, but she didn't know what else to do. He was going to die. We couldn't just give up on him. I tell her she didn't give up on him. She gave up on me. There's a difference. She reaches for my arm and I step back. She begs me to come home, to talk to my father, to give them a chance to explain. I ask what there is to explain. She stole my scholarship money. Those are facts, not misunderstandings. She says they'll pay it back. They're working on refinancing the house. It'll take time, but they'll get me the money. I ask how long. She doesn't have an answer. I tell her it doesn't matter anymore. I've moved on. I have a job, a place to live, a life that doesn't involve cleaning up after my brother's mistakes. She's fully sobbing now, and an employee is starting to look over with concern. I walk away. She calls after me, but I don't turn around. In the parking lot, I sit in my car and grip the steering wheel until my knuckles turn white. Seeing her brought everything back. The anger, the betrayal, the grief for what I lost. But underneath all of that is something else. Relief. Relief that I'm not there anymore, not trapped in the cycle of crisis and recovery, and crisis again. I drive back to the apartment and tell Julian what happened. He listens without interrupting, then asks how I feel. I tell him I feel free. August comes with heat and humidity that makes the construction sites miserable. I'm managing a renovation project for a small office building, coordinating electricians and plumbers and drywall contractors. Carol has given me more autonomy, trusting me to make decisions without constant oversight. Ray Kellerman mentions that I'm on track for another promotion by year-end. The company is expanding, taking on larger projects, and they need people who can handle increased responsibility. I enroll in 2 classes at the State University for fall semester, Introduction to Structural Systems and Engineering Economics. The classes meet Tuesday and Thursday evenings. Kellerman covers 75% of tuition as promised. It's strange being back in a classroom after a year away. I'm older than most of the other students, more serious. I'm not here for the college experience or to figure out what I want to do with my life. I already know. I just need the credential to do it properly. The material is challenging but familiar. I spend lunch breaks reading textbooks and weekends working on problem sets. My grades are better than they were before. I'm more focused now, more motivated. Every assignment completed is proof that I can do this on my own terms. In September, I get an email from an address I don't recognize. The subject line says it's about my brother. I almost delete it without reading, but curiosity wins. The email is from a rehab counselor named Dr. Sarah Vance. She explains that my brother is in treatment again, this time at a state-funded facility. He asked her to reach out to me as part of his recovery process. He wants to make amends for his past behavior. She includes a phone number if I'm willing to talk. I read the email 3 times, then close it without responding. 2 days later, another email. Dr. Vance again, more persistent. She explains that family involvement is crucial for long-term recovery. My brother is finally taking his sobriety seriously. He's been clean for 60 days and working through the 12-step program. Step 9 involves making direct amends to people he's harmed. She understands if I'm not ready, but asks me to consider it. I write back this time. Short and direct. My brother didn't harm me. My parents did. If he wants to make amends, he should start by acknowledging his addiction cost me my education. But that's between him and his conscience. I'm not interested in participating in his recovery. Dr. Vance doesn't email again. October marks 1 year since everything fell apart. I'm at the bursar's office at my old university, sitting in the same chair where I learned my scholarship was gone. But this time I'm here voluntarily. I asked Carol for a long lunch and drove the hour to campus. The woman behind the desk is different now, younger, with less sympathy in her eyes. I ask about the scholarship fund, specifically about the withdrawal my mother made. The woman pulls up my file and confirms the details. $47,000, withdrawn October 15th last year. I ask if there's any way to reverse it, to get the money back. She explains that the withdrawal was legal and authorized. My parents would have to voluntarily return the money. Even then, there's no guarantee I could reapply for the scholarship. It was awarded to me as an incoming freshman. I'm no longer eligible as a continuing student. I thank her and leave. I'm not surprised by the answer, but I needed to hear it definitively. That scholarship is gone. The education I was supposed to have is gone. But I'm building something different now, something I earned entirely on my own. The fall semester classes are harder than I expected. Balancing full-time work with evening classes and weekend homework means I have no free time. Julian barely sees me anymore. I'm either at the office, on a construction site, or in class. My social life is non-existent. But my project at work gets completed on time and under budget. My midterm grades are both A's. In November, Ray Kellerman calls me into his office. He's sitting behind his desk with a folder in front of him. He tells me the company is bidding on a major infrastructure project, a bridge renovation for the city. It's the biggest project Kellerman has ever taken on. If we win the bid, we'll need someone to assistant project manage. He wants it to be me. I'm 20 years old, barely a year into this job. I tell him that. He says he knows. He also knows I'm the most dedicated person on his staff. He's seen my work quality, my attention to detail, my willingness to put in the hours. Carol vouches for me. If we get this project, it's mine. I accept before I can talk myself out of it. December brings the bid results. Kellerman wins. We're managing the bridge renovation, a 2-year project worth $8 million. My role as assistant project manager means I'm coordinating subcontractors, managing schedules, reviewing structural reports. It's overwhelming and exhilarating. The pay raise that comes with the promotion brings my salary to $65,000. I'm 20 years old, making more money than I ever imagined at this age. I move out of Julian's apartment into my own place, a small 1-bedroom in a better neighborhood. Julian helps me move my still minimal possessions and jokes that I'm abandoning him for success. We both know I'll still be around. He's the closest thing I have to family now. Christmas Eve. I'm alone in my new apartment, reviewing structural calculations for the bridge project. My phone rings. Unknown number. I answer, and hear my father's voice for the first time in over a year. He sounds older, tired. He says he got my number from the university, called them pretending to be me to access my emergency contact information. The deception doesn't surprise me. He asks if we can talk. I ask what there is to talk about. He tells me my brother is in the hospital. Overdose. They found him unresponsive in his room. He's stable now, but it was close. My father's voice cracks when he says this. He asks if I'll come to the hospital. I ask why. He doesn't have a good answer. Because we're family, he says. Because despite everything, I'm still his son, and they're still my parents. I tell him I stopped being their son when they chose my brother over my future. He tries to argue, says it wasn't like that. They were trying to save my brother's life. I point out that my brother is in the hospital anyway. All that money, all that sacrifice, and he still ended up here. My father is crying now. He admits they made mistakes. They focused so much on my brother's crisis that they ignored everything else. They took me for granted because I was the responsible one, the one who didn't need help. They see that now. It's too late, but they see it. I tell him I'm glad they've gained perspective, but I can't come to the hospital. I can't keep putting my life on hold for my brother's emergencies. I have work tomorrow, a bridge project that needs my attention, people depending on me. My father asks if I'll ever forgive them. I tell him honestly that I don't know. Forgiveness feels like something distant and hypothetical. Right now, I'm focused on building the life they tried to take away. He says he understands. He gives me his new number in case I change my mind, then hangs up. I sit in my apartment with the structural calculations spread across my kitchen table and feel nothing. My brother almost died and I feel nothing. That should probably worry me. It doesn't. What worries me is the realization that I've completely severed the emotional connections that once defined my family relationships. My brother is a stranger. My parents are people who hurt me. There's no love left, no obligation, just absence. I go back to the calculations and work until 2 a.m., then sleep for 4 hours before heading to the construction site. The bridge project consumes the next 6 months. I'm on site every day, coordinating inspections and managing timeline issues. Carol supervises but gives me room to make decisions. I learn to handle contractor disputes and budget constraints. I learn to read soil reports and stress analyses. The bridge is 100 years old, built when engineering standards were different. We're reinforcing the support structure while maintaining historical integrity. It's complicated work that requires precision. My evening classes continue, 2 more each semester. By May, I've completed 4 courses toward my degree. Only 32 more to go. The timeline still feels impossible, but I'm making progress. Summer brings unexpected news. Ray Kellerman pulls me aside after a project meeting and tells me the company is opening a new division focused on infrastructure development. They need a project manager to head it, someone with vision and drive, someone who understands both the engineering and the business side. He's offering me the position. I'd be managing a team of 5, overseeing multiple projects simultaneously. The salary is $90,000. I'm 21 years old and being offered a 6-figure track position. I ask if he's sure. He laughs and says he's never been more sure of anything. I accept. My promotion comes with an office, actual walls and a door instead of the shared workspace. I hire my own team, 3 junior estimators and 2 project assistants. One of them is fresh out of college with a degree I don't have yet. I'm their boss anyway. The irony isn't lost on me. The bridge project finishes in August, 2 weeks ahead of schedule and under budget. The city holds a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Ray gives a speech thanking the team. He mentions me by name, calls me instrumental to the project's success. Local news covers it. My parents probably saw it. I don't care. September brings the start of my 3rd year working toward my degree at night. 8 classes down, 28 to go. I'm on track to graduate when I'm 25. Not the timeline I originally planned, but mine nonetheless. In October, exactly 2 years after my life imploded, I'm in my office reviewing proposals for a new project when my assistant knocks. She tells me there's someone here to see me. No appointment. I ask who. She hesitates and says my brother. I tell her to send him in, curiosity overriding my instinct to refuse. He walks into my office looking nothing like I remember. He's thinner, older, with the hollowed-out look of someone who's been through hell. He stands in the doorway like he's not sure he's allowed to enter. I gesture to the chair across from my desk. He sits, and we look at each other. He speaks first. Says he's been clean for 14 months. Longest stretch since he was 17. He's working at a warehouse, living in a sober house, going to meetings every day. He's here to make amends. I tell him I got the email from his counselor 2 years ago. He nods and says he wasn't ready then. He is now. He lists everything he did that hurt me. Stealing my things to pawn for drug money. Creating chaos that dominated our family. Taking attention and resources that should have been shared. Costing me my scholarship. I listen without interrupting. When he finishes, he asks if I can forgive him. I lean back in my chair and consider the question. I tell him what happened wasn't his fault. Addiction is a disease. But it also wasn't my responsibility to sacrifice my future for his recovery. He nods and says he agrees. He's in therapy now, learning about boundaries and accountability. He understands that I cut our parents off. He doesn't blame me. He asks if there's anything he can do to make it right. I look around my office, at the wall of project photos, the engineering degree I'm still working toward at night, the life I built from nothing. I tell him he can stay clean. That's all. Stay clean and build his own life and stop being a crisis that destroys everyone around him. He says he's trying. I believe him. He leaves, and I sit in my office feeling something I haven't felt in 2 years. Hope. Not for reconciliation with my family, but hope that maybe my brother will finally figure it out. 3 years after everything fell apart, I walk across a stage and receive my bachelor's degree in civil engineering. I'm 24, wearing the same cap and gown as the 22-year-olds around me. Carol and Ray came to watch, along with Julian and a few co-workers. My parents aren't here. My brother isn't here. I don't miss them. After the ceremony, Ray shakes my hand and tells me the company is proud of what I've accomplished. Carol hugs me and says she knew I'd finish. That night, I'm in my apartment, degree on the table, when my phone buzzes. Text from an unknown number. It's a photo of a cake that says, "Congratulations, graduate." The message below says, "We saw the ceremony announcement. We're proud of you even if we can't tell you in person. Mom and Dad." I stare at the message for a long time. They were there. Somewhere in that crowd, they watched me graduate. Part of me is angry they showed up without permission. Another part recognizes it for what it is. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe and like to not miss the next story.